It's about time we look at some WCW, guys. Yes, I've wasted enough time already with this weirdest episode series. We're about 4 episodes in, and we've not yet taken a trip down to Atlanta, Georgia for WCW, the home of old school traditional wrestling, and that's exactly what we're going to look at today. Maybe. And this one's particularly exciting because we're going to be looking at a Nitro episode. I only had a Thunder t-shirt, sorry, but it's a Nitro episode from the year 2000, yo. And if you know anything about WCW between the years of like 99 and 2001 when it ended, you'll know that it was completely insane. Lots of storylines didn't make sense, title changes were happening like all the time, and there was a big power struggle going on creatively behind the scenes. The recipe is perfect for this sort of video. The only problem is, it was such a mess, I didn't know which episode to actually focus on. I thought maybe about doing the reboot episode from the spring of 2000, which is basically where Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff came in and actually stripped the titles from everybody and rebooted everything, literally. But it turns out there was another candidate that stood out just a little bit more. I found this old Reddit post called recommend the most lol WCW episode of Nitro on the network, and I thought this is exactly what I'm looking for, and it provided one.
Oh yes, indeed it did.
The top reply in this thread, as you'll see if Luke throws it up on the screen, is from Brannigan's Law, and it suggests June 5th, 2000, and Brannigan's Law was not wrong, not by a long shot. But I wanted to make sure I could trust this person's recommendation before I began. I scrolled down the replies to the original poster who said, holy S-word, this is delivering. And I was in. I was fully game for it, so let's waste no more time. Let's check out this episode, the one that Reddit has deemed the weirdest or most lol WCW of the year 2000. Let's dive right in there now. Hit the intro. It's the go-home episode of Nitro for the Great American Bash 2000. We are in Atlanta, Georgia. Peace up, A-Town down, and I am beyond excited. We get a cold open of professional MMA scary man and part-time DJ Tank Abbott rolling up to the arena and walking in alongside that dog-faced gremlin Rick Steiner, and they both just stride in like big scary men. I'm hyped, I'm really hyped. Why is Tank Abbott here on this particular episode? Well, he has called out Goldberg of all people, because this is Goldberg's first match back from injury. How did Goldberg get injured, you ask? He injured himself, punching through the window of a limousine owned by the NWO 2000. This happened like 6 months before, and I hear you also ask, who on earth was NWO 2000? It was a new millennium version of the New World Order, consisting of Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Jeff Jarrett, and Bret Hart. How on earth did they let that happen? Don't worry about it, they'd broken up by the time of this show anyway, so latter days of WCW, yay! There's a lot more of this in store. The point is, silly Billy Goldberg has injured himself, but now he's back a few months later and he's ready to kick some ass. So it only makes sense that the show is properly opened by Vince Russo and Eric Bischoff. They're sauntering down to the ring. They are accompanied by a team of private security. They take ages to get to the ring. They take ages to get into the ring. And then Eric Bischoff gets on the mic and takes ages to cut this like standard heel promo and basically say nothing. It's taking so long. He's talking slowly. He's going around in circles. He's really enjoying himself, you can tell, and I am not. The key theme of Bischoff's promo is bragging about how well the New Blood are doing. So the New Blood basically, right, when the NWO ran out of steam, WCW still had an interest in stable or faction warfare. So they split the roster quite neatly into 2 warring stables. On one hand, you've got the New Blood, and on the other hand, you've got the Millionaires Club. There's a few exceptions in both groups, but by and large, the New Blood are younger, hungrier names looking to make a name for themselves, whereas the Millionaires Club are the older, more established names looking to cling on to their spots, even though really they should probably be passing the torch by this point. The likes of Hogan, Flair, Sting, Nash, DDP, you know who I mean. So obviously, the older guys, the Millionaires Club, they're the baby faces, and the New Blood are the heels, led by Russo and Bischoff. I don't know why, don't ask me, I don't know. Bischoff says that tonight, Kevin Nash of the Millionaires Club, who he hates, will take part in a New Blood gauntlet match where it's just him against the whole New Blood stable. And if he loses that match, then he'll lose his title shot at the upcoming pay-per-view, because he's set to take on Jeff Jarrett of the New Blood as well for his World Heavyweight title. Just when it looks like the promo's wrapping up, Bischoff then hands the mic to my boy, and your boy as well, Vince Russo. And I don't know if you know this about Vince Russo, guys. He's from New York City, but don't worry, he doesn't really mention it that often. Russo talks about how annoying it is to have to move down from New York to dirty, disgusting Atlanta. Peace up, A-Town down. It's like if you imagine when Cody Rhodes came back to WWE from AEW going, oh my god, it sucks to be up here again. Russo reveals that he's got a match tonight later on in the show, which we will be dissecting, do not worry about that, against Ric Flair in a steel cage. And Russo says he's going to take Flair up to the top of the cage, drop him down, and give him a brain aneurysm. I don't want to dish out spoilers too early, but that doesn't happen. Bischoff gets back on the mic, he goes, cheers Vince, thanks for that, and basically he's going to wrap this up with a couple of extra points. Point number one, he's going to take the hardcore title from Terry Funk tonight. Good luck. And point number two, Bischoff pleads with Goldberg. He says, look, Bill, me and you, we get on fine. I don't hate you, but please stay out of Kevin Nash's feud with my boys, the New Blood. Just please stay out of it, Goldberg, and we'll have no problems. But Russo grabs the mic back from Bischoff and says, no, Eric, you're being too nice to Goldberg. Goldberg's a punk. And oh no, we cut backstage and Goldberg's watching on a monitor and he doesn't look very happy at all. Back to the ring, and Russo says, Goldberg, I've got two words for you. And he says, are you ready for this? Spear this, baby. It doesn't matter. Goldberg heads to the ring and starts taking out the security team with a lot of super kicks, actually, like a big, meaty young buck. More security come down as Russo and Bischoff bail and head to the ramp. The security guys all get to the ring where Goldberg is, but Goldberg scares them off. They're too scared to get in the ring even with Big Bill. I actually like that. I think they could do that with someone like Lesnar at some point in the near future if they wanted to, and it would probably work. That's maybe, though, the only thing I liked about this opening segment. So let's move on. Wait, we can't move on. It's not over yet. This gargantuan opening portion of the show continues because we go backstage to the aftermath. This is very much, I'm getting the impression, the Eric Bischoff show. Bischoff and Russo are in their private locker room and Bischoff's like, why did you call out Goldberg, Vince? He's really scary. And then Russo's all like, I'm sorry, man. He's from New York. Jeff Jarrett storms in. He's not very happy because he's got a match tonight with Sting and he doesn't want one. He should be resting ahead of his big title defense at the pay-per-view on Sunday. Then he leaves. Then Billy Kidman storms in all angry with Tori Wilson, and he's angry because he's in a feud with some guy called Hulk Hogan. I think he's like Enhancement Talent. I'm not quite certain. And he wants a match with him tonight. And then Tori Wilson goes, you guys, I'm sick of you all. I'm sick of all your crap. And she storms out. And I'm like, everyone's shouting at each other. Like, honestly, I'm really trying my best to keep you up to date with all the character motivations going on here, but there's so many, and they're all clashing in the same storyline, and I just don't quite know what's going on, but I am trying. By the way, the whole time this backstage bit was going on, Ernest the Cat Miller was just sat there, along with Bischoff and Russo, and just kind of repeating what Bischoff said, but he added nothing of value. But we'll see more of him later on. Finally, it's time for the first match of the night. Oh my god, I can't believe we've made it to the promised land. It's a tag title match, the Perfect Event defending against Chronic. If you don't remember Chronic, they are two very large men named Brian, and they used to be Crush and Adam Bomb. And the Perfect Event, if you don't remember them, that's Chuck Palumbo and Sean Stasiak. Chuck Palumbo from Chuck and Billy in WWE a few years later, and Sean Stasiak from running headfirst into Kurt Angle's milk truck a few years later as well. So it's looking good. In fairness, I am unironically quite a fan of the Perfect Event. I think they're good heel tag team champions, but they start this match and Chronic just start kicking their asses because they're huge, big, scary men, of course. The match is starting to develop. I mean, it starts to almost feel like a normal wrestling show, but before we can get too far, here comes Ernest the Cat Miller. Can we just have some wrestling, please? The Cat's a heel, the Perfect Event are heels. I think they're all part of the New Blood as well. So the Cat waits until the match spills to the outside and there's a big brawl going on around the ring. Then he gets in the ring, puts the referee in a chokehold and forces him to count out the people in the match, thereby ensuring that the Perfect Event retain their titles. I have several problems with this booking. In fact, I have two specific problems. One, Chronic should have realized this was happening sooner because this was going on for ages until they were actually counted out of the match. Secondly, what's the problem? Like, Ernest the Cat Miller's not really doing anything wrong. He's basically ensuring that the referee does his job properly and actually administers a count of 10 when the legal participants are outside the ring, which he wasn't doing, ref. What are you doing? So we've got the heel commissioner, Cat's the commissioner, I believe, making sure the rules are followed on his show. And I think he's doing an excellent job of that. So I have no issues, and I think the heels have been rightly helped to retain their title. I'm trying to make this sound sensible, but it is ridiculous as well, isn't it? Chronic, of course, are not happy. They beat up the Perfect Event, and Brian Adams hits Sean Stasiak with an F5, which they call the Face Jam. Interesting. Welcome to the Face Jam. It's your chance. Do your dance at the... The beatdown continues. Chronic get a table out from under the ring, and we cut to the back. Great, absolutely brilliant. We don't see what happens with the table. The show has to move on. Presumably, we need to cram more Eric Bischoff in here. Or we'll see more of him. Just you wait. Backstage we go to learn a little bit more about what's going on with Billy Kidman and Tori Wilson. Because remember, just before, they weren't happy. Tori stormed out, in fact. She wasn't happy with Billy Kidman or the other members of the New Blood. And Billy wants some answers, damn it. But Billy's a bit too aggressive, to be honest, considering that's his girlfriend. He's like, yo, what are you doing? You really stormed out of there and made me look like an idiot in front of the guys. And Tori's like, look, I'm just sick of... And then they're interrupted by Major Guns of the Misfits in action. I really enjoyed the Misfits in action when I was a kid. I thought they were badass. Hindsight has proven me slightly wrong. Billy seems to agree. He's not happy that Major Guns is here at all, and he says, I'll try and deliver this line exactly as he delivered it. I've watched this a few times. I think I've got it down pretty well. He goes, mind your business, you dumb bitch. Get out of here.
Oh, hi, Mark.
That's some badass heel delivery, that, Billy. That's the end of that segment. Don't worry, we'll find out what happens later on. But now it's time for Kevin Nash to arrive in the building. The backstage interviewer is doing her job well. She's like, Kev, what do you think of this big gauntlet match that Bischoff's put you in later on? Are you worried that you're going to lose your title shot at the pay-per-view? And Nash just totally ignores the question and says, just answer me one thing. Is Goldberg here yet? The interviewer says, yeah, Goldberg's here. And Nash goes, awesome. My gimmick's alive. I'm still the last one in the building, yo. I'm Kevin Nash, too sweet. Like, am I missing a reference to something here? Or is this literally just what it says on the card? Is Kevin Nash just literally saying, I'm the last one, I'm super cool? Kevin Nash is like 40 by this point, by the way. Now we head to the babyface locker room to check in with my boys, the Misfits, in action. I need to stop doing their entrance music whenever I say their name, because I know Luke's doing some mad stuff on the edit that's going to make me look like a fool.
Are you challenging me?
If you don't know the Misfits in action, they're a military-themed stable of babyfaces who change their names to have like fun military sort of puns and a little bit of wordplay because they're fun. There are some familiar faces in there, but for the purposes of the Misfits in action kayfabe, we're going to just refer to them as Private Stash because he likes weed, Corporal Cajun because he's Cajun, Lieutenant Loco because he's Mexican, and of course General Hugh G. Rection, which is because he's Bill DeMott and he's a dick. Major Guns comes in, she's crying about Billy Kidman being mean to her a little bit earlier on, and then G.I. Bro comes in and says, all right lads, I'm Booker T, I'm way too good for this stable, what's going on? No, just kidding, he doesn't say that, I really wish he did. What he actually says is, right, we need to find Billy Kidman and kick his ass. And I'm like, Misfits in action. But no more theme music actually.
Are you challenging me?
Peace up, A-Town down. It's about time. The Misfits in action. Private Stash, Corporal Cajun, Lieutenant Loco, and of course General Hugh G. Rection. Misfits in action. No more theme music actually. Now we head to another babyface locker room, which I guess is like the main event babyface locker room because we've got Nash and Goldberg. And it's weird to see because at this point in time, they were cool with each other. Like they're just hanging out like cool babyface friends.
Oh, friend!
Scott Steiner's there too. Nothing's finer than Scotty Steiner, remember? And him and Kevin Nash say to Goldberg, mate, we really hope that you batter Tank Abbott, honestly, because we don't like him very much. I just can't shake the feeling that these guys all secretly hate each other because it's Nash, Goldberg, and Steiner. There's a lot of big egos in that room, all pretending to be friends. But I guess that's the magic of wrestling, because you don't quite know what's real and what's not, you know? But there's too many big dogs in one area. and I don't know how to feel about it. Finally, we cut back to ringside with G.I. Bro, Booker T, and the rest of the Misfits in action. But no, and here comes Billy Kidman with his stable, the Filthy Animals. Hell yes. I'm talking about Billy Kidman, of course, but we've also got maskless Rey Mysterio, we've got Juventud Guerrera, we've got Conan, we've got Disco Inferno is also one of them actually, which is a bit of a shame. The match gets underway, it's Booker versus Kidman, and Booker T tears away his combat pants. He's wrestling in like his normal black trunks, but he's left his army cap on. And I'll just say it, he looks like a male stripper. Booker hits the axe kick and the spinneroonie, and we're like a minute in. I'm like, wow, this one's going really quick. Booker props Kidman's legs up in the corner and invites Major Guns into the ring to get some revenge and hit him down low. But then here comes Tori Wilson to save Kidman, but you'll never believe this, she actually kicks Kidman instead. How many times did they book Tori Wilson to turn on Billy Kidman? In my head, it feels like 4 or 5 times, but it can't have been that many, right? Booker hits the bookend 1, 2, 3, and he wins the match, but is then immediately taken out with a chair shot by Disco Inferno. This sparks a huge brawl between the two factions, which, to my surprise, the Filthy Animals win in like 10 seconds. I know wrestling's fake and everything, and it's not real fighting, but if you just look at the members of the Misfits in action, and then look at the members of the Filthy Animals, I wasn't expecting it to go that way. All I'm saying is there are weight classes in MMA for a reason. I don't want to be that guy who's like, Rey Mysterio should never have won the World Heavyweight title. Yes, he should. It's Rey Mysterio. He's awesome. But just in this post-match brawl, it didn't make sense to me. Next up, here comes hardcore champion Terry Funk. Oh yes, indeed. And he's only 55 years old here, wow. Eric Bischoff, as he mentioned in the show opening promo that lasted forever, is the challenger here, and he wants to take Terry Funk's hardcore title. He's also accompanied by his assistant / the commissioner of the show, Ernest the Cat Miller. And the Cat has a plan. Right? He knows what to do to give Eric the advantage. What he does is, when they get in the ring, he throws Terry Funk a chair and then hits what I can only describe as an average cartwheel and kind of kicks Terry in the face. And honestly, it's the first time that I laughed or smiled while watching this show. Bischoff gets a pair of nunchucks out and starts trying to hit Terry with them, but he's blocking them with a trash can. And I did say earlier on in this video that we were going to get some traditional Southern wrestling. This is it. Big Terry smacks Bischoff with the trash can, the Cat grabs Bischoff, they head for the back, and they're chased by Funk, and I guess we'll just catch up on this one later. Who's next to head to the ring, you ask? Why, it's Stacy Keibler, or Miss Hancock as she was known at the time, and she just starts dancing. She starts having a bit of a boogie in the ring. You might be asking, why on earth is she doing this? Don't think about it too much. This is the year 2000. Women in wrestling didn't need characters then. She is interrupted by Kimberly Page, who is kind of like the head heel woman, I guess, of the New Blood stable. She's in a bit of a Stephanie McMahon sort of role, I think. She heads to the ring, accompanied by Mike Awesome, who's also in the New Blood, but he's not really the Mike Awesome we knew in ECW. Like, he's not main event level talent right now. He's more like the handyman of the New Blood. Like, he'll help out the other heels when they need a bit of a job done, and, you know, we all need a friend like that. Paige tells Stacy Keibler to get out of her ring. And Stacy's like, yeah, fair enough. She just starts heading off. I'm like, yeah, she doesn't want any trouble, and I respect that. But instead, Kimberly Page breaks a clipboard over her back. Ouch. Kimberly and Mike Awesome head up the ramp. Their work here is done, but they weren't counting on former All Japan Triple Crown champion Stacy Keibler, don't Google that, getting up and summoning every ounce of fighting spirit in her body to cut a sick promo on these heel mofos. Stacy gets on the mic and tells Kimberly to get her fat ass back in the ring, and she also kind of says it like Scott Steiner, like fat ass. She kind of has that twang to it. Also, a little side note that I thought was worth mentioning, Kimberly Page, obviously very fat, yes indeed. No, she literally got visible abs in this segment, so I don't know what to make of that. Kimberly gets on the mic and says, Stacy, I'm gonna come over there and give you a fat lip later. And then she leaves, and I'm like, what was the point of that rubbish? Okay, let's move on. But don't worry, because all this knits together, kind of. It's like Bruce Pritchard produced this show, because as they're leaving, they are passed by Terry Funk and Eric Bischoff on the stage. Their match is still going on. It's carnage. Anything can happen in the World Championship Wrestling Federation Championship World. Peace up, A-Town down, Atlanta. Terry hoists Bischoff into a wheelbarrow and carts him down to the ring and tips him inside. And we cut to the back again. And we just have some normal wrestling on this show. I'm getting emotional here, guys. Backstage, Russo's watching this match with Johnny the Bull and Big Vito, and he says, I'm sick of watching Eric get his ass kicked. Get out there and help him. And they do. They get out there. And I'm like, why Why did we need that on this show? Why on earth did we need to cut to the back? Why just have them interfere? Just have them run out. We know they're heels, we know they're aligned. We didn't. I'm gonna take a few seconds to myself. We cut back to the ring, and instead of just pinning Bischoff, because he'd definitely win by this stage, Funk, I wasn't expecting this, I'll be honest. He's setting Bischoff up in the corner for, of all things, a stink face. I think I might be done with this show, but I'm contractually obliged to finish this episode for you, the good people of YouTube. And I love you so much for it. Johnny and Vio hit the ring, they beat up Terry Funk, they pull Bischoff on top of him, 1, 2, 3. Eric Bischoff, as he promised, is the new WCW Hardcore Champion. Hooray for Eric. Thankfully, that is the end of his involvement in this show. No, it's not. There's plenty more to come. Next up, this is a bit, I've got cause for optimism now because this is a bit more like it. We've got Scott Steiner versus Vampiro for the US Championship. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty good. I don't mind that at all. Oh no, Scott Steiner wants to cut a promo first. But this is a babyface Scott Steiner promo, and babyface Steiner promos are a little bit weird. Babyface Scott Steiner wants us to know how much he loves going out, having a party, and pulling women. Yes, Scotty. And he does it in a weird way. Oh god, it's weird. Scott gets on the mic and tells us that he was out. Oh god, can I really shout this whole thing? He was out in Atlanta last night. I can't even do his voice, man. He was out in Atlanta last night because he knows Atlanta loves to party with some freaks. That's gone okay. That's gone all right. I can't possibly keep this up. I'll try and paraphrase the rest of it. Scott, I'm so embarrassed. Scott tells us basically he got with this girl last night and he took her back, and it's meant to sound all like smooth and cool, like he's a player and we should all think, oh, he's really cool, I want to cheer him. But it's Scott Steiner and he's the very opposite. So instead he's like, I took her back to my place and it gave her this feeling and she hit the ceiling, and he's like rhyming. That's so bad. I hope my parents don't watch this video. Mercifully, the promo ends there. Steiner's like, you know, holler if you hear me and all that. And one guy in the crowd, it cuts to the audience. One guy's like, yeah, that deserves a standing ovation, and just stands up. He's like, that's the most inspirational thing I've ever heard, my friend. The match gets underway, and Steiner basically dominates Vampiro. He takes him to the outside and gently power slams him onto the announce table, which gently breaks. Wonderful. A little side note as well, he does this while the commentary team are hyping up the next match on the show. So it's like the action's going on right in front of them, but Schiavone's like, bet you lads can't wait for Goldberg versus Tank Abbott next. Oh, hang on, what's gone on there? They get back in the ring, Vampiro grabs a blowtorch. Now, look, I'm not a blowtorch expert, but he tries to hit him with it. And I'm like, Ian, it's a blowtorch. One of Scott's freaks, Medeja, jumps off the top and flattens Vampiro with a big crossbody. It's pretty nice, but Vampiro no-sells it and chases her up the ramp, looking to set her on fire. This is because Vampiro's got a match at the pay-per-view against Sting, where the object of the match is to set the other one on fire. So it's good to know that his head's in the game. Who on earth is gonna save this poor woman? Hold on to your Tony Schiavones, because it's Sting! Oh yes, indeed, business is about to pick up. Sting beats Vampiro back into the ring where Scott Steiner has recovered, and he puts Vampiro in the Steiner recliner, and Vampiro taps out. Now, you might be thinking, hang on, this wasn't like a no DQ match, but a lot of rules were broken here. Well, this was during the era of WCW's relaxed rules, which you'll be shocked to know were not consistently upheld. That match is over. We're straight into the next match. Shockingly, I know. And it's the one we've all been waiting for. It's Tank Abbott versus Goldberg. And this one's a little bit confusing because I know that Goldberg's like several rungs ahead of Tank Abbott in the pecking order, but they built this up as like a potentially dangerous opponent for Goldberg. But the opening stages of the match go like any other Goldberg squash. He's just dominating Tank. But here comes Rick Steiner with a steel chair to interfere in the name of the heels. That's right, Scott Steiner might be a cool partying babyface who gets with all the freaks in Atlanta, but Rick's still a heel, baby. The heels beat down Goldberg until, Wolfpack's back causing mass destruction. I genuinely, you know what? It's a horrible, rubbish show, but parts of it, I'm having a fun time watching. Here comes Kevin Nash through the crowd for some reason. Like, you're 7 foot tall, Kev. This isn't really a sneak attack. He wades through the crowd. It's like the Yetis coming. And he gets slowly to the ring and climbs the barricade, and then he's there ringside. He trips Tank Abbott, or he trips Rick. He trips one of them. Goldberg spears Tank. 1, 2, 3. Goldberg gets the win with the help of his new BFF, big sexual Kevin. Backstage we head to Kimberly Page, who's still fuming about this confrontation with Stacy Keibler earlier on. She challenges her to a mixed tag team match against her and Mike Awesome later on and calls her, and I quote, a gawky little teenager. Yeah, when I look at Stacy Keibler, that's what I think. I think, yeah, I bet she was really unpopular at school. Next segment.
The chosen one.
Oh, well, bang, bang, bang. I don't know what me doing that over my mouth did to the mic. I assume that sounded bad and I'm sorry for it. Oh, well. Yes, it's time for Jeff Jarrett versus Sting. A casual pay-per-view headlining match, basically, in the middle of a Nitro. It's the year 2000. Jeff jumps Sting before the bell and takes control of the match immediately and stays in control almost the whole way throughout. He beats Sting up the ramp, he beats him back down into the ring, bang, Sting rolls him up, 1, 2, 3, Sting wins. What? Remember also, Jeff Jarrett was the World Heavyweight Champion, Sting's just pinned him, that's a title change. The crowd are going mad, they're like, we've just seen Sting's the new champion. The ref gives him the belt, he's celebrating with it. Surely this is too good to be true, right? Right. Here comes Eric Bischoff. Eric says, whoa, 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 whoa. Before you get too excited, I never said this was a title match. And I'm like, wow, you'd think that's something that Sting should really have checked beforehand. You think that's something the referee should really have checked beforehand as well, before even giving the belt to Sting. Sting says, oh, really? Oh, well, he shakes it off really quickly, like the crushing disappointment of not actually being the champion. Shakes that off. He's like, that's too bad, because for that, Jeff Jarrett's going to show up to the pay-per-view in a body bag. And Sting takes Jarrett to the outside and lightly punches him through the announce table. And it's at this point I realize, oh no, Scott Steiner wasn't meant to put Vampiro through that a few segments ago. That was Scott Steiner going rogue. And I know that's very unlikely, but that must be what happened. If that wasn't enough of a beatdown, and let's face it, it wasn't, they head up the ramp and Sting smashes one of Jeff's own guitars over his head and Jarrett topples off the side of the ramp. That's your World Heavyweight Champion heading into a pay-per-view. I guess it builds up the tension, like, ooh, is he gonna lose? So maybe in a way it worked. Doesn't look strong though, doesn't look strong. Looks very, very weak indeed. I'm starting to understand now actually why Jarrett booked himself like Triple H in TNA a few years after this. I kind of get it now, Jeff. In fact, he's portrayed so weakly that backstage Jarrett does a stretcher job into an ambulance job. That is some great chain wrestling. Mike Awesome hits the ring and cuts a heel promo on his opponent at the Great American Bash. It's DDP. Here comes Kimberly. Her and Mike Awesome are going to have their mixed tag match now. Here comes Stacy Keibler, or Miss Hancock, and she reveals her mystery partner. No way. It's DDP, the guy Mike Awesome just cut a heel promo on. If I was running this show, I maybe wouldn't have had him cut that promo on DDP. Just to retain some shred of the element of surprise, come on. Yeah, Stacy's mystery opponent is not only the former partner of Kimberly, but also the future opponent of Mike Awesome, and I am shocked. I cannot believe my little blue eyes. So this match, right, this is how it goes. Kimberly starts off, does a bit of a dance, gets on the mic, shouts at the crowd for not cheering the dance, can we have some proper wrestling? Then Stacy gets in the way, she does a dance, and Kimberly pushes her over. Oh, 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome. The finish of this match comes when Mike Awesome is in control, but then Stacy gets on the apron and distracts him by pulling up her skirt, shouts out to Miss Elizabeth. Stacy is clearly a wrestling historian, and it works as well because Mike turns around, bang, diamond cutter, 1, 2, 3, the babyfaces win. Next up, here comes Eric Bischoff. Oh my god, leave the arena! I don't know why I had to put that in. He is accompanied by the New Blood member, Horace Hogan, the real-life nephew of Hulk Hogan, and we hear on commentary that apparently Hulk has refused to wrestle his nephew tonight. Oh, Hulk, we want to see you kick some blood relative ass. Bischoff cuts another slow heel promo like, oh my god, Eric, please, God, please. Just hurry it up, mate. But Horace, while he's doing this, is setting up a table on the outside, and Eric goes, we don't need that, Horace. Hulk's not going to be here. And I'm like, has Horace just spoiled everything for us? Because the point of this promo is very much like your classic Attitude Era Vince McMahon promo, where he's like, Austin's not going to be here tonight, guys, and then Austin turns up and the crowd goes wild. That's essentially what Bischoff's doing here, because he goes, Hogan's definitely not going to be wrestling, and then Hulk Hogan's music hits. Or should I say, the NWO's music hits. And this is unusual because at this point Hogan was back to like the red and yellow Hulk Hogan, but he struts out and he's got the black and white on and he's all Hollywood and he's like, gets on the mic, right? And he says, well, you know something, gentlemen. And I'm like, gentlemen? When was that your catchphrase? He says Hulk Hogan might have promised that he wouldn't wrestle Horace tonight, brothers, but he didn't say anything about about Hollywood Hulk Hogan. At this point, Hogan does what I think is a classic Hulk Hogan move, because he calls for the steel cage, which is above the ring, for a later match in this episode. He calls for that to be lowered for this match, which I think is kind of stealing the thunder of that future match. But make up your own mind. He then busts his ass down to the ring, kind of nearly doesn't make it in time, but we'll let that pass. He does manage to make it before the cage lowers fully. This match is about 3 minutes long and consists of a man utterly decimating his own nephew. He finishes Horace off with a steel chair assisted leg drop. Did this need the cage stipulation? No, it did not. Hollywood Hulk Hogan wins, and we can all go happy. There are a few matches left. Billy Kidman, remember him? He jumps Hogan afterwards because they've got a match at the Great American Bash. Hogan launches him through that table set up on the outside by Horace earlier. That was, in fairness, right, one of the best bumps on the show by Billy Kidman. He did very, very well here. Next up, okay, here we go. Vince Russo versus Ric Flair in a steel cage match. Just after Hulk Hogan called for a steel cage match to steal the thunder of their steel cage. But don't worry, Vince and Rick, because nothing can stop my excitement to see these two wrestling titans go to war. The match begins not how I expected it. Russo gets Flair in a headlock, Flair shoots him off into the ropes, Russo comes back and knocks Flair down with a big shoulder block. Why? Like, why do we need to pretend that Vince Russo's alright at wrestling? We know he's not, we know he's trash. Anyway, Flair takes control of the match. He beats up Russo for a bit until Flair's heel son, David Flair, gets out from under the ring. Uh-oh. Because Rick and David have a match at the pay-per-view as well. And in case you were wondering whether Rick was a bit hesitant about beating up his son, he strides over and just immediately big boots him in the chest. Like, sit down, David, you little punk. Flair and Russo head up to the top, like up a ladder through a hole in the roof of the cage. This is a roofed cage, but they can't call it Hell in a Cell, but it's a cage with a roof. They head up through a hole in the top of the cage and just kind of hang out on top for a bit, and then they think, this is a bit stupid, and then they head back down again. I'm like, oh, I thought something cool was going to happen. Flair gets Russo in the figure four, but then David Flair comes over and grabs one of Russo's arms, just one, and that stops him from tapping for like a long time. I don't again know why we need to pretend that Russo's kind of tough. Is it because he's from New York? I got 100 guns, 100 clips. I'm from New York. What a tune, by the way. Then, out of nowhere, as Russo is, get ready, out of nowhere, as Russo is caught in this submission with nowhere to go, red liquid, gallons of red liquid, fall from the ceiling and drench Ric Flair, and he's out of it. And he's totally gone. It's clearly meant to be blood, but commentary are like, it's the red of the new blood. This was a ruse by the new blood, right? So the new blood, I don't know on how many occasions they did it, definitely more than one. They drop this red from the top of the arena and hit the baby faces, but I'm pretty sure there was one occasion where it missed, but you might have to, Luke, if you've got that image to hand, please flash it up now. I'm not certain, but if it's true, it's hilarious. It's like the signature attack. Like, the NWO would spray your back, DX would pull juvenile pranks on you or whatever, the Shield triple powerbomb you through a table, and the new blood drop red on you at annoying times.
You've got red on you.
David Flair puts the figure four on his dad while Vince Russo makes the cover, and Vince Russo beats Ric Flair. I have so many questions, like, how did the new blood get the red up in the building? How did any of this happen? Can you still see me? I don't understand what's going on. I hate this show so much. I hate everything. Also, how did the blood incapacitate Flair to the point where he was incapable of kicking out of a pinfall by Vince Russo? I've forgotten myself slightly. I'm gonna get set up again. Sorry about that, everybody. Okay, I'm sorry. Also, why was the referee fine with it? Like, the blood, the red, landed on him as well.
The red on you.
Why was he okay and Flair was totally incapacitated? Why was the referee okay and he could count the pinfall and everything? I don't understand. No. Let's move on. Show's not over. We've got a main event to deal with. Of course, it's the new blood versus Kevin Nash in a gauntlet. Come on. Kevin Nash makes his entrance. Oh my God, here comes Vince Russo again. It's been like a minute since your match, Vince. Like, leave it, please. Him and Bischoff have been all, I'm sweating, like I'm actually sweating. Like, they've been all over this show. Russo's out with a whole group of New Blood members, and he's not even here for any reason. He's just tired after his match, and he's just reiterating the rules of the match. I know how a gauntlet works, Vince. I know how a gauntlet works. And I know the rules are going to be broken, and you're going to send more than one member at a time. I know that's how this happens, and that is what happens. I don't need you on the show anymore. Go away. First man down to the ring to face Kevin Nash. Disco Inferno. Nash pins him with a sidewalk slam. It's going smoothly. Next person out. That is Chris Candido and Johnny the Bull at the same time. They're breaking the rules already. It's okay. We knew it was going to happen. Nash hits both of them with huge jackknife power bombs, and the ref counts them out. But Nash hasn't made the cover yet. And honestly, right, at this point, I think I start to lose my mind a little bit, because this show has been so weird and so haphazard and so bad that it's almost like challenging the very fabric of wrestling as we know it. Like, the very baseline of wrestling is that you pin your opponent's shoulders to the mat for 3 seconds. And they're kind of just doing away with all that. We don't need that anymore. This is free. This is postmodernism at its finest, and it's surrealist. And I don't know what's real anymore. And I don't know if it's good or bad. And I don't know if good or bad exist as concepts in my mind anymore. All I know is that this is Nitro. Vito gets another weird metaphysical pinfall that doesn't exist after Nash drops him. Rey Mysterio runs in, big boot. Nash does manage to put the foot on the chest for this one. I think watching this, right, that Nash didn't realize the ref was going to do this, and he's like not okay with it, because he's like, what do you do? He tries to like rush over and make a pinfall. The reason for this, I guess, is that they were running short on time and they wanted to hurry things a lot. If you know the answer, please drop it in the comments below. Russo loses his temper and just sends all the rest of the New Blood at once. And finally, Nash is getting overwhelmed. He's getting his ass kicked. He needs help. And just when he needs help more than anybody else in the world, who should arrive but his very best friend for this episode at least, Big Billy Goldberg. And he heads down to the ring and just snaps the perfect event in a half. In a half? I'm getting tired. He snaps the perfect event in half with a big double spear. Remember the perfect event? They had the opening match of this show about 7 hours ago. Nash and Goldberg clear the ring and they celebrate. I guess that makes it a no contest. Nash doesn't lose his title match at the pay-per-view. He's still going to take on Jarrett at the Great American Bash, so that's all good. And him and Goldberg look at each other and share a big manly fist bump. The cool guys won the day. That's the end of the show. No, it's not. Eric Bischoff comes out. Eric, man. It's time to go home, Eric. Bischoff threatens to suspend Bill Goldberg, and Goldberg says, oh no you won't, Eric, because if you suspend me, your ass is next. And it's a statement so powerful that it makes pyro shoot from the ring posts. And finally, mercifully, that is the end of this episode of Nitro, everybody. Right, so obviously this episode was appalling. Like, it was really bad. Easily the worst episode of anything I've covered in this series so far. But I don't know if I knew it would be bad, but I don't know if I was expecting it to be this bad. There were 10 matches on this show, I believe, but it didn't really feel like that, because none of them went over 10 minutes. It felt like loads of backstage stuff and loads of interference and everything. And despite having some like all-time historic huge names in wrestling history on this show, Hogan, Nash, Hall, Goldberg, Sting, the two men who took part in the two longest matches were Eric Bischoff and Vince Russo, of course. I honestly think that really says it all here. You know, they made sure we knew who the real stars of the show were, and it wasn't the wrestlers. Now, at the end of these videos, I often take a look ahead to whatever pay-per-view they were building up to or whatever, and have a look at what happened next. But I had a look at, well, first of all, I'm exhausted. And also, I had a look at the next pay-per-view, and it's pretty special. I think it's probably worth a look of its own. So if you want me to, I might do a review of the Great American Bash 2000 as well. If you want that, leave your thoughts in the comments below, leave your suggestions in the comments below, and stay safe out there. I don't know what else. I'm really tired and I need to lie down. Thank you very much for watching this episode. Thank you to Luke for somehow slogging through that edit. Big ups to you, and I'll see everybody very soon.